so that I don't ever fold the clay over, but also I'm going to have my pinky up against the clay so that it's scraping away any water as I go down. And this clay, contrary to what I thought originally, is actually pretty soft. It is weird. And now for a bat, you want it to be lower in the middle, and it doesn't matter that much if it's not 100% centered, because you don't care if you lose a little bit. For a plate, you want, especially if your bat is not that thick, you want the clay to be close to the width that your plate's going to be, because you don't want to be pushing down past too much past the edge of the support. And I use my thumb as a tool. I don't know, but I tend to push one hand with the other, and I'll do this again. I'll talk about it more when I'm doing the actual.
You do have long fingers.
Yeah, okay, so this is my bat. Now, the only part of the bat that really matters is the edge, because that's where your contact point is going to be. So you want to make sure that the middle is lower than the outside edge, and that the edge where you're going to stick your plate on is dry, because if it's wet, the bat will slip. And I'm just going to trim this edge down. And so if it's not centered at this point, I can just cut off whatever I'm not happy with. When you use a bat, so I've taken out 3 because these are really big, but you want to make a big plate. You want the bat to be bigger than your plate if you can. First of all, it will make it easier to cut it off, because you can actually lean on the bat for the whole time you're pulling the wire through, which is very helpful. The other thing is that if you're putting things in the wet cupboard, I always say try to have a bat that is so that your pot isn't sticking past the bat, because when people put things into the wet cupboard, they shove them in until the bat's hit, and you don't know that their pot's not bigger and it's still going to hit your pot, but at least if your pot is inside the edges of the bat, it's a little bit protected. Okay, so now these 2, I'm going to use one of these, but because it's kind of a plastic surface, which is sort of interesting, but this one I want to show you something. So this bat is pretty thin and it's warped a little bit. You can check if your bat has warped. This table probably has as well. But if it spins, then you know that it's a little bit, like, it's not spinning a lot, but you can see it's not spinning at all this direction. In this direction, it's spinning a little. That means it's curved this way. So if you're going to throw a plate on something like this, or anything, but the flatter it is, the more important this is, you want to have it curving up, not down. Because if it's curving down, when you go to pull your wire through, it's definitely not going to get the clay in the middle. You know, the wire wants to hump up anyway, but even if it's dead flat, you're going to miss some of this. And so what you think you measured is not what you're actually going to get. Whereas if it's going like this, at least you can, and also the bowing sort of goes with the wire. Okay, so just something to remember. Okay, so now this, I think this is okay. I'm gonna, kind of weird. So to get this to be the right amount of wetness to not come off and not slide, what I generally do is, wipe the bottom of the bat. This is very odd. Anyway, you should be able to, in a normal bat it would go darker. I'll demonstrate on the other one. Where's the other one? Oh, here. So wipe the back of the bat, or this one, and then if there's any like shiny water, I wipe that off on my towel. So what I want is like dark but not shiny. Okay, so we'll just hope that that stays in that state, even though it's not that absorbent. Okay. And you want to center the bat as well as you can, because aside from the psychological help of not having the bat being wonky, if it's not, the more off-center it is, the less of the bat you can actually use, because you need for most of the side part. Okay, so now this is 2 kgs, which should be enough for really quite a big plate with a foot. The biggest plates that I have made on any kind of regular basis were 4 pounds, which is a little bit less, but they didn't have a foot. So I'm hoping this is going to be right. Okay, so when you make a plate, like 90% of your effort is just spreading the clay out, and then you throwing at the end is just the last little bit. Okay, so when you throw with the bat, you want your first pressure to be down, and any side pressure that you put on one side, try to even it from the other side, so that you don't move the bat. You don't move the bat any more than you have to.
You make that look easy.
I'm pushing quite hard. I just moved the chair in so that I could actually really lean down onto it.
Yeah.
You want to be able to get your body weight behind this because you're really pushing down to spread the clay out. So now all I'm going to do is spend a lot of time spreading the clay out. Again with my finger on the edge to try to stop the water getting underneath as I do this, because it does fold over a little bit sometimes. Because obviously once it gets big, you can't do this all the time. You have to be on the top sometimes. And I've still got my hands touching if I can. I don't know. It's just much more stabilizing. Okay, so I'm just going to check how much clay I've actually got. Needle? Is my needle in here? Okay, so it's about 1 centimeter. I don't want to go much thinner than that because it's going to be pretty big and I want to put a foot on, so I'll leave that. It's higher at the edge. You probably want a little bit of a curve on it. So what I'm going to do at this point is move into the thumb pushing mode. I hold one thumb with my other hand and I push kind of away from me. And if I start to get a ridge, I push it down. If this is the hardest thing about spreading clay out is if the clay builds up in a ridge ahead of your finger, then it will come off. Like you know, the ridge gets too big, it's just going to come off. So you have to kind of stop and do it slowly enough that, or gradually enough. This is the other way. I don't know. And when I make a plate, I push all over the place. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't taught correctly, or I've forgotten what to do, but I just do both of these things. And I'm trying to leave like sort of thicker at the edge because that's going to be the part that I throw. But you can also push back in a little bit. Okay, so now I've done that. I need to compress that a little bit more. Plates are the most prone thing to cracking on the bottom, so you want to make sure that you get that really compressed, and also using a ribkin will help you smooth out ridges and uneven thickness. Again, that bit in the middle is, you know, just it's hard. If you think you're going to dig in with your rib, then just do that bit with your finger, because it's very easy to go too far, and if you're pushing down, then all of a sudden the clay goes chunk onto your tool. Okay, so that's my bottom. So it's still the same as what, you know, I'm just first doing the bottom, although the bottom is like the whole thing. And now I'm going to push under here to get to grab that clay that's going to be my rim. Now, what kind of rim do you want? Do you want a flange or no flange?
Flanges and like up like that.
Well, so that you've got the plate coming up to a point and then changing direction going out.
Yeah. Or just
coming up to a. I could make it come up to a slightly thicker round.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which is kind of something I do that with bowls a lot. Okay, so for that I don't need a huge amount of clay past my plate. So I'm just gonna bring that up, and you want to slow right down because at the edge of the wheel the clay is going really fast, and everything you do now is going to be cantilevering, so I'm actually going to throw up for a minute so that I can thin it out without it being too hanging out into space, right? And I'm just throwing this little bit right there. Try to use this clay. If the clay is flaring out, it's not actually, the clay that's flared out towards the bottom is not actually doing anything, so I can use that. And I feel like I might have left the bottom a little bit thick, but I guess that's kind of have to. Alright, so just gonna throw this up, and then once that's thin, it's really not worth going under there so far that you go in danger of collapsing, because if it collapses, then you lost the whole thing. It's better to just trim it off later. Okay, so I'm going to make a line on both sides. What I do sometimes, especially with terracotta, is just glaze it to the inside of the rim.
Right.
Yeah. And it's just, I don't know, it's just nice to have a definitive point where the glaze stops, if it's going to stop. Okay, so now I've done all the, that's a little bit not enough. Once I've done all the detailing, oh yeah, cut in a little. Anytime you're going to trim something later, it's worth tidying the bottom up as much as you can, because then when you turn it over and go to center it to trim it, it's easier to figure out what you're doing. So even though you think, oh yeah, I'm going to trim that off later, it doesn't matter. It's actually worth
easy
it to have, yeah, it makes your life easier when you go to work with it if it's all even. Okay. All right. So now I'm gonna spread this out very slowly, and as soon as I've done that, I'm gonna stop.
Yeah, because you could make it go over, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to handle it as little as possible. Once it's like hanging out there, I don't want to have it turning any more than, and I'm supporting it underneath. Where's my other rib? So this is just different angles. This one has a really good, like, oh, the other thing is when you use a rib, you can change you can reduce the angle of the curve by flattening it out. Obviously once it's lying down it's completely straight, and then, so anyway. Okay, so gonna stop.
Amazing. That's amazing.
And now, you can smooth this out later, but just a little bit. Okay, so now cutting it off. This is why it's helpful to have the bat big enough to lean on it. So you want to have the shortest length that you can, because it's easier to hold it tight, but you need to make damn sure that you can get your hands wider than the plate. So here's wider than, but I'm gonna start off pulling like this so that I've got that. And if you can push down on the bat at this point, that's really good. And I'm going to sit at the edge until the wire has cut that whole edge bit around, and then just move in very slowly so that I'm cutting all the way around at each distance, and then by the time I get to the middle, I'm only cutting a little bit. Once I get halfway through, then I can just go through because I've cut the whole thing.
That's amazing. That's very helpful.
Yeah, and then it doesn't, you cut your fingers off a little bit less, and it doesn't rise up as much. Yeah. A big Bowie thing, yeah. So that's slow edgy thing. And then to get the bat off, now this is a little bit tricky because you can't reach under there that well. If it's very stuck on, you don't want to flip your plate across the room. So you want to get some kind of stick under there and pry it off so that it just pops up a little bit. And I usually do it at a couple of points to make sure it's actually off.
That's also helpful.
Yeah. And then
I've done that before.
Yeah, once it's loose, then you can just take it off. Some people don't